Nancy is the CEO of Do Something, and she's also the founder of Crisis Text Line. So, thank you, Nancy.
And we've actually built in AI, so for some words, some people have started texting back their baby, which we didn't expect people to try and talk to their baby.
What do they say?
Well, they say things like, "You're ugly, baby." And so the auto response to that is, "Well, I was told I look like my parents." So we took the 200 words that we sort of automated responses to. We didn't even think that they would want to interact with it, but we're getting one message every 7 seconds. We have about 150,000 kids who've played it in about a month. It's big scale. Yeah, you can clap for that too. So the great thing about it is when we survey them, more than 50% of them tell us that it makes them highly likely within a week of playing to talk to an adult about sex. And that, all of the research says, is the silver bullet. That if all had emails about Viagra or, like, "Oh, my wallet was stolen, and if you give me $50, I can get 20 million. Yeah, that's not going to happen by text. Huge open rates. It also skews Hispanic and urban. I didn't believe this at first. Our chief data scientist came to me and said, "What's our 3 top markets?" And he said, "McAllen, San Antonio, and North Miami Beach." And I said, "Whoa, you're telling me that our list is Hispanic? I don't believe you. Go cut the data another way." And he came back the next day and he said, "All right, our top 3 names are Juan, Miguel, and Maria." I was like, "Okay, I believe you." So it skews Hispanic, which is pretty exciting because as an organization, as a not-for-profit, we weren't set up to help Ashley in Beverly Hills do more community service. She'll go to Costa Rica for spring break and think she's great. That was funny too. All right. So one sort of weird unpredicted side effect of all of this texting that we just didn't expect is whenever we send out a text, like Text for Baby or any of the other campaigns we do, we get back a few dozen text messages that are what we call out of flow. They have nothing to do with babies or any other campaigns that we run. They're things like, "I'm being bullied and I don't want to go to school." Or, "I was cutting, I stopped, but then I started again an hour ago." And for a while, we just triaged these. We just had volunteers and we would respond to them and help these kids out. And then 2.5 years ago, it was August, we got a text message that sort of changed everything. It's a little heavy for after lunch. The funny part of my talk ends now. So it said exactly this: "He won't stop raping me. It's my dad. He told me not to tell anyone. Are you there?" So we sent her the number for Rain, who we love, and we didn't hear back from her. And we sent her the number for Rain again, and we never heard back from her. And we're not really sure what happened to her or how she's doing, but she did change everything for us because we decided that just triaging this and sending hotlines to people and sort of doing it ad hoc wasn't enough, and that there was a need for a crisis text line in America to help everybody, 24/7 for free. So I spent 2 years raising the money. That's a whole nother conversation. My just one punchline on that is it's much too hard for people to start new stuff in the not-for-profit sector. And we need to do something about that. That I went hat in hand to lots of foundations. And in fairness, I'm sort of a safe bet. I founded Dress for Success. I did Do Something. If this was for profit, I'd walk down Sand Hill Road and someone would write me a blank check. But it's not for profit. And so every foundation said to me, "You just don't fit into our buckets." And I said, "No shit, it's new. It doesn't fit buckets." In any case, I finally raised the money, and it launched in August. And I'm proud to say that last week we already passed 1.5 million messages, and we're handling 11,000 messages a day. Woo. Which is both exciting and really depressing because we only launched it really quietly in Chicago and El Paso. We pulled some people from the Do Something text list, about 4,000 in each market, and just sent out a text to them saying, "If you need help, here's a separate number." That's it, Chicago and El Paso. Back in August and September, and now we're already doing 11,000 messages a day, and we're in every single area code in America, which just says kids really, really wanted this service. So it's free, it's 24/7. Here's what's great about texting. You could be bullied at the lunch table and you could be texting us for help and nobody around you would know it because you're not talking on a phone, right? So it's really quiet that way. The bathrooms are where all of this bad shit happens, right? Or where you go to cry about it. You're not gonna be in a stall calling on a phone because people will hear you. Instead, you're gonna be texting for help. The response times are super fast. Our goal was to respond to text messages within 14 minutes. We are actually doing almost all messages within 4 minutes. The other thing that's really interesting about text is on the phone or other mechanisms in person, you get hyperventilating, you get crying, you get the word like, and it can sometimes be difficult, you get repetition. By text, you just get facts. And so what we found is by the third message, young people have spilled their guts to us and told us everything that we need to know in order to help them. The other thing that's great is there's a thread in our system so that when you text back to us a few weeks later, we don't need to say, what's your name? What are you contacting us about? What's going on? The history is right there. So we can just immediately jump back in. And we know when you talk about Fred, we know who Fred is because you already told us that a few days ago. And finally, the other thing that's really great, and I can't take credit for this, is our genius CTO that we built, is that we realized the system needed to be built for the counselors as much as for the kids, and that counselors have a hard time responding to stuff. And so we built the platform with a pop-up that if a counselor gets stuck and an issue comes in that the counselor doesn't know about, or the counselor needs a bathroom break, the counselor can talk to another counselor in the system. They can be looking at the same thread and decide how to respond to that kid together. The other thing that's great about it, of course, is by phone and other systems in person, it's a one-on-one relationship. With our system, a counselor can watch up to 4 threads at the same time on the screen, so it's economical. So it's pretty exciting. Okay, you guys are tired. It's pretty exciting. Crisis Text Center is pretty exciting. But the best part actually is getting rolled out in June. And then something else is getting rolled out today. I'm here to announce today. The best part is getting rolled out in June, and that's the data. So I think it's great that we're helping so many kids. We've intervened in more than 200 active rescues. I think this is fantastic that this service is available. The thing about cutting, we have found equal amounts of text messages during the school day as on the weekends and at night. This means that cutting is an in-school problem and schools need to think about this and deal with this. It's very interesting to us that we're having 3 times the rate of usage in El Paso as Chicago, and we're offering it in English only. And yet still in El Paso, it's being used at 3 times the rate as Chicago. You'll be able to know why something spikes on Thursdays, or the relationship between eating disorders and bullying, or when crystal meth hits a neighborhood, you'll be able to see it, and police will be able to respond accordingly. This data should, I hope, be used by all of you in the important work that you do, by journalists, by academics, by foundations, by politicians. We hope everyone uses it, and so it will be available for free under a Creative Commons license to the public in real time. So that's in June. What I want to announce today is that we want to make the technology itself available to all of you. So what we'd like to do, the data, and this is really because we believe in 2 things. One is we want lots of kids to have access to this, and we need more counselors, because we never thought we'd be doing 11,000 messages a day in just 7 months. The second thing is the data. In order for data to be pure, it depends on volume, velocity, and variety, right? The corpus, that data needs to have volume, velocity, and variety. And so it's very important for us not to fragment. Okay, all of these fancy words really just mean, it makes a lot of sense that we have 911 by phone. So they can sort whether or not they send police, fire, EMTs to something, and you don't individually call police, fire, or an ambulance. You don't have to remember various numbers. You just know it's 911. Imagine the same thing for text. Our hope is that 741-741, which is the crisis text number, becomes the white label that everyone else can use. And so I'm here today to gift it to you and say, we would like to quietly be your service provider on the back end. If you want your own keyword because of what your organization is, maybe you deal with bullying and so you want the word bully, that would mean we'd give you the word bully. And whenever a text message comes in with the word bully, it would come in through 741-741 and it would get routed to your counselors, who you oversee and supervise, but the data would go through the same system. So the learnings for the entire community are pure, but you're handling your own counseling. And it means that if you're only open during the workday 5 days a week, we can make sure that your text messages are routed somewhere else to somebody else. And it means that you can fundraise from local foundations or whoever funds you to do that important texting work, but you don't have to try and become a tech shop. Because it's hard doing what we do, and we know it's hard doing what you do. I am the last one you want consulting someone out of an eating disorder. I think marshmallows are a food group. And so what I do is just the technology and the data and the marketing, and we want to gift it to you to do the good work that you do. So super excited and hope that you guys utilize this. I'm looking forward to all of the men on this panel and to taking your questions later. Thank you.